Hey guys, welcome to the first video on this new channel that I decided to boot up. This is just JDM, and today we're going to discuss the R32 Nissan Skyline. The Skyline has always been a car with a variety of trim levels ranging from basic commuter sedan all the way up to everyone's favorite street tuner legend, the GTR. But first off, let's go over a little history lesson. The R32 was the 8th generation of the Skyline, and it made its debut in May of 1989, either as a sedan or a coupe. Believe it or not, previous generations of the Skyline had wagon and hatchback body styles. Built in the city of Musashi Murayama in Tokyo, production of the R32 ran until July of 1993 when the R33 replaced it. But production of the GTR variant actually ran all the way until the November of 1994. That's over a year after the other variants were replaced. That's unheard of these days. There was a variety of options for the Skyline buyer in those days, with a number of trims and engine options available. So why not just start from the bottom and work our way up? Just so you're aware, Nissan engine codes work like this. For example, let's look at the RB26 DETT. The RB is the series of the engine, so the RB series. The 26 is the size, being a 2.6 liter. D standing for dual overhead cam. Without a D, it'd be a single overhead cam. The TT stands for twin turbo, so anything without a T there means it's naturally aspirated. Got it? Good. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so first we got ourselves the GXI, chassis code FR32, which only came as a sedan and a single overhead CA18 engine that produced a whopping 90 horsepower and 105 foot-pounds of torque. This only came in rear-wheel drive. This is actually the last time Nissan put a four-banger in a Skyline, as ever since, even up to this day with the current generation, they're still running 6-cylinder engines. No, I'm not talking about the R35. Second from the bottom is the GTE, chassis code HR32, which came with a single overhead RB20E that barely made 120 horsepower and 112 foot-pounds of torque. Alright, next up we have ourselves the GTS, chassis code HCR32, which was the first to offer a coupe body style and finally an engine that made half-decent power. I guess, a dual overhead RB20DE, which produced just over 150 horsepower and 114 foot-pounds of torque. This trim offered what Nissan calls the Super Hikis, which basically is their rear-wheel steering system. Next up, I promise, this is where it starts to get good, we have the GTS-T, also chassis code HCR32. And do you know what that extra T stands for? Turbo. It stands for turbo. From the factory, this variant produced 212 horsepower and 195 foot-pounds of torque. Now that's something that'll get you going sideways pretty easy. There was also an all-wheel drive version of this, designated chassis code HNR32. Now if you wanted a larger engine instead of a turbo, there was an option for that as well. The GTS-25, designated chassis code ER32 and ECR32, which came equipped with the RB25DE, which made 180 horsepower and 170 foot-pounds of torque. So with the R32, there was no turbo RB25, unfortunately. Last up we have the BNR32, aka the GTR, which we all know came with the RB26 DETT. And due to the gentleman's agreement in Japan at the time, this was limited to 276 horsepower and 271 foot-pounds of torque. But with a simple tune, you were able to easily squeeze out an extra 40 horsepower. This monster was only available with an all-wheel drive system called ATESA ETS, which stood for Advanced Total Traction Engineering System for All-Terrain and Electronic Torque Split. Now that's a mouthful. Without all the complicated technical jargon, it basically ran rear-wheel drive but transferred power to the front when needed, which gave it a huge advantage in corners. It could do 0 to 60 miles per hour in 5.6 seconds and could do a quarter mile in 13.4 seconds. Not bad at all for a factory car made by Nissan. It's hard to say what the GTR was meant to compete with, as the 300ZX filled Nissan's role to compete with the Supra, NSX, Mitsubishi GTO, and RX-7. All in all, throughout the 8th generation of the Skyline, Nissan sold 313,491 units, with 43,937 of them being GTRs. Not bad if I do say so myself. As you're all very well aware, the Skyline has earned itself a huge reputation in car scenes around the world, despite being a Japan-exclusive car. This is due to the fact that the GTR dominated professional racing, most notably the JTCC, or Japanese Touring Car Championship, where it won 29 races in 29 starts. This earned it the nickname Godzilla. It seemed unbeatable, and so everyone and their dog had to have one. We can't forget the other versions of the R32 though. Despite producing less power and only being rear-wheel drive, with the exception being the GTS4 of course, most other models were very popular and still are to this day. Over 30 years later, due to the fact that they are highly tunable. Want a slick looking drift missile to toss around the corners like Initial D? Why not a Skyline? Need something to look good for shows? Why not a Skyline? Need something that'll light them up at the stoplight? Why not a Skyline? The R32 did it all, and for a very long time, affordably. Not so much anymore though, and this is sadly where the good stops with this car, and many like it. Not too long ago you could pick up a GTR for 10,000 bucks or under, at least in Canada. But then 2014 happened and they became legal to import to the US and prices started to skyrocket out of proportion, and now if you want a Skyline with a manual transmission and a turbo, you better be making six figures or you're probably in trouble. Despite this, we can't forget all the good the R32 has done for the JDM world. Due to incredible racing success, the R32 has had lots of influence, whether in real life or fiction. Have you seen Initial D? Takeshi Nakazato wasn't a particularly good driver, but due to the fact that his car was so good, he was able to keep up with other better drivers than he. Another anime, Wangan Midnight, features R32 GTRs very heavily because of their massive potential in high-speed highway racing. One even makes its appearance in the Marvel movie Avengers Endgame, where Clint Barton is slaying the Yakuza. At this time, I can't think of any other media appearances, so I guess that's it for that. But here's some fun facts. The GTR was almost planned to be rear-wheel drive only, much like its predecessor, the R31 GTSR, until a higher-up at Nissan, Kozo Watanabe, ordered the team to make it the perfect all-wheel drive beast, and that's where the HICAS system came from. The R32 GTR at the time was the fastest road legal car to circle the Nürburgring, and it did it in 8 minutes and 20 seconds. So I guess that's it for the video, guys. Comment down below, let me know what your dream R32 would be. Personally, I love a manual transmission GTS Turbo 4-door. I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe if you like this kind of content. It'll encourage me to make more. And I hope you have a great day, everyone. Bye.